Hello and welcome to Omar's Rickshaw Ride. We are your hosts, Omar and Zara. Today's episode is brought to you by Fridays. Fridays are so awesome. We're happy to be here with y'all Friday. We are probably going to go check out Thor later today. We're excited to see that. Heard a lot of good things about Padme's biceps and look forward to seeing that. Remember to follow us on Twitter at Omar's Rickshaw. Hit like and subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. And how are you doing today?
Good. I was kind of internally laughing that we're gonna go watch Thor and then come back and record an episode. That's just what we do now. That's just what we do now. We watch TV and then we talk about it in front of our microphones. But how am I doing today? I'm doing pretty well, actually. All things considered.
Mm-hmm.
Fridays are awesome.
Yes.
And it's almost like a miracle that you and I both have Fridays off. Omar.
Yeah, that's great.
4-day work weeks for the win!
And our daughter's at school, so we get to enjoy, be here with y'all. The weather's nice. The weekend's about to be here. So we are on the penultimate episode 5 of Miss Marvel. I thought it was a good episode. I thought it was awesome. Pretty good.
I thought it was a wonderful episode.
It's progressing the story in a great fashion. I'm curious to see what happens next week to wrap it all up, and we'll talk about that a little later. How the show starts is really cool. We start off with some old Bollywood music. Do you recognize it?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I don't know what movie it's from, but it's in my head. I've heard it several times.
Yeah. And it switches to like a sepia tone, black and white title.
Telecast.
And then we go to the telecast of 1947.
Yeah.
We weren't sure if this was like supposed to be like a British show or if this was like an Indian show talking about independence and partition.
There were a couple of things in there. The way that the perspective and the language in it didn't make me feel like it was a careless kind of British newscast.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like a newscast with an analysis from our side's perspective, from the Indian perspective. And I didn't think that accent was necessarily British. It sounded like a Desi person who has a British accent. So that was my read of it.
The actual Miss Marvel title cards were mostly written in South Asian languages.
Yeah.
If you want to see a breakdown, E.A. Ross does a really great job going through each of them on the New Rockstars
Right.
recap and reaction of the show.
Yeah.
Check that out. It's really good. It really looks at each individual one, and there is a lot of context.
There's a lot of context, there's a lot of detail.
Mm-hmm.
There are lots of these wonderful details that tell a story. It's not just a visual, but it's part of the storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite title card was the little cards that people got, like the transfer cards or the migrant cards.
Mm-hmm.
And this was for the Khan family, for Hassan, Aisha, and Sana. And all families who crossed, or most families who crossed, must have gotten that. So, and the title on it was in Punjabi, the Gurmukhi script. So that really moved me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, shout out to New Rockstars.
Right.
We watch a lot of their stuff for all kinds of shows or movies, and not just Miss Marvel. But really love what they put out. Sometimes after watching them, it's like, why do we even have a podcast? Everyone should just watch New Rockstars.
Yeah, but it's a different pace and it's a different thing that they do. They do a wonderful job.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that we have a podcast because of our perspective on all things. Not just this show because we are of Pakistani origin, but we are older millennials, we're parents, we're nerds, we're educators and psychologists. So I think that this is a different perspective. And you pointed this out. This is a different pace.
Sure.
So I think that's the difference. But yeah, love it.
Yeah.
Love New Rock
And
Stars.
shout out to some of the other people that inspire us. The For All Nerds podcast. Check them out. Check out Nerds of Color. Really bringing great perspectives to all this nerdiness that we all share.
Mm-hmm.
So getting into the episode, we start off with Aisha getting chased. She ends up throwing a dagger at the dude. Pretty good throw. I think that is... You thought maybe she was like a red dagger. I think that was part of her like Jin weapon, like one of her weapons.
Yeah, I think that was her Jin weapon.
Yeah.
But the reason I mentioned red dagger is because it's indicative of what she may have started.
Right.
Yeah.
Because after the episode, we're left kind of wondering, like, how did the red daggers get started, and how do they know Aisha? Because Waleed mentioned her, even Chemo mentions her. So there's some connection that doesn't get explained between herself and the red daggers.
Right. I do want to say though that I kept thinking this is the story. Where did the Illuminati's got that she had a second family? And I think that may be the connection, that she had her family, but she also had something else that nobody knew about.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what I was thinking, that maybe that rumor started from her work of setting up the red daggers.
Right. When she ends up in that village and she sees the dude, you know, on the soapbox talking, did it remind you of Lagan? For some reason, I got taken back to Lagan.
Yeah, because it's, you know, Indians coming together and struggling for their independence against this evil colonizer. So yes,
Yeah.
it's definitely reminiscent of that and lots of other narratives of struggle against the British.
Right. And for all the non-Daisies out there, Lagan was a movie from, around the year 2000? I forget exactly when. It was one of the first Bollywood movies I watched as an adult. But it's set during Indian occupation. So, yeah, Fawad Khan, who is a star, apparently.
Fawad Khan was just one of the kids that grew up in Lahore. He was in a band. It was called EP.
Okay.
He's cute, so all the girls liked him, all of that. But he really came into his own with acting. We didn't know like what path he was gonna take, because other people that were also in the band, like everybody went their own way, but he really came into his own with acting, and I think he does a great job. There are a couple of other films, Kapoor and Sons for one, where I really liked his work, and he's been in Pakistani dramas as well, and I really like it. I really like his work. Yeah. He did a great job in this. I loved his character and how he portrayed him.
Right. So I did as well. They fall in love really quickly. Or I guess just how the show is moving.
Yeah. I mean, I will say that there are lots of things that happen very quickly, but even the quickness of this, it doesn't feel rushed because we see that time has passed and things have transpired. So I think that the storytelling here is good, even though it does seem very quick. Like it's within few minutes, a couple of minutes actually, right? That things have progressed.
She's pregnant.
Yeah.
She has that rose in her hair. What I noticed when the scene of her and her baby, and that was like the happiest Aisha seems in the show.
When she's singing the lullaby.
Yeah.
And what a beautiful lullaby that is.
Yeah, she looks genuinely happy.
Yeah.
And doesn't really seem like that the rest of the way through.
Yeah.
We also see some of the lead up to Partition with the way they are being shunned by the rest of the village because Hassan is Muslim. And then we also jump right into Partition. And how did you feel about how Partition was portrayed?
Well, I want to talk for a second about that scene where Rohan comes with the milk and the vegetables and that whole interaction. I think they did such a beautiful job of encapsulating what happened to communities, because in the beginning when we meet Hassan, he's talking about unity. He's talking about peace, he's talking about independence and freedom and togetherness. And Rohan says to him, you were the one who talked about togetherness. And he says, well, nobody buys my flowers now and nobody sells us milk. So there has been this type of a rupture that is just unmanageable, and nobody really knows how to hold it. And even people who believed in love and freedom are now in this situation where they can't but be separate and look at themselves as a separate community from other people in their previous community. So I thought that was beautifully done. The way that Partition was portrayed, I think from the telecast to all the old footage, the B-roll, and then these very tight scenes sprinkled in, they did a beautiful job of the retelling in such a short time. I will even go as far as to say that this short of a narrative, I've never seen it done so tightly and so beautifully, so delicately too. Because through the whole show, the way they have held Partition is not divisive. And that's a huge feat. Because Partition was divisive, and it's really hard to talk about it and to process it without talking about friends and enemies, which we were with each other and still are, right? In so many ways. But they just did a beautiful job. I'm really moved by it.
Mm-hmm. It was very touching.
Yeah.
The scene with Rohan reminded me of my dad's story about Partition. My parents are in their 80s, so they were children during that time. My dad was in a rural village in West Punjab, what is now Pakistan. And his story as a child was, he recalls the rioting, he recalls the chaos and tumultuousness. And his story is that his family hid the Hindu and Sikh villagers in their houses while, there was just this mob violence happening outside.
Yeah.
And this was happening, throughout that village and throughout all the villages and all the cities.
Yeah.
Mob violence and,
Yeah.
it's crazy. It's terrible.
Yeah, it's terrible. We have a similar story from my Nani side of the family. They lived in a place called Jalalabad. I'm not quite sure what the geography is, but it was somewhere close to Amritsar. And they were going to take a train from Amritsar to Lahore. And they didn't have any way to get from Jalalabad to Amritsar. And there was a Sikh truck driver who put them in the bed of the truck and put a canvas on top as if it was like, cargo that was being transported. And he brought them to the train station. And it is said that the train that they took was the last train that had any alive bodies on it. After that, it was just a shit show. So, as there is this history of rioting, there's also a history of togetherness. Because people were communities and brothers, and there was fear and there was divisiveness, but there was also togetherness. And I think that they do a beautiful job of holding both. Nobody's saying that there wasn't divisiveness and there wasn't killing and rioting and violence, but that both are held. I love that.
Right. Yeah. My mom won't even talk about,
Yeah.
her story of Partition, and it's just a very traumatic thing that happened to to a whole subcontinent of people.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't not heard very many stories from my nana, my nani, but Badi Ammi, who was her mother, she told a lot of stories. Particularly towards the end of her life, she would tell a lot of Partition stories.
Yeah. And if we consider the current, not even current, but it's been almost 75 years. This August will be 75 years of Indian and Pakistani independence, and Bangladeshi and most of the continent, the subcontinent. And these people are still beefing with each other. They still have nuclear weapons pointed at each other. It's really sad. It's and it seems, I don't want to blame the British, but it still seems like the legacy of what the Brits did is still there 75 years later.
We can't blame the British as the population of Britain is now, but it was on their shoulders that this happened. And they didn't do it to divide us at the end, but they did it to control us. And then they didn't care what the consequence was going to be. Of course they didn't care. They plundered us. They colonized us. So it's not a matter of blame, it's just a matter of placing the responsibility where it belongs. Yeah. And I mean, we can also get it together, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
But I don't think that it's the people. Even now, I mean, when I was living in Pakistan, if anybody from India came, people treated them so wonderfully. And for the majority of my life, people couldn't go to India. The borders were closed. And then when the borders opened, school trips went, and these types of things started to happen. And the hospitality was just so magnanimous of Pakistanis in India. So it's not the people. Of course, it is somewhat the people too, because there is nationalism on both sides, and there's
There's a lot of, on both sides, dangerous elements.
There's dangerous elements.
Right wing
Yeah.
ultranationalism that is sectarian in nature, and oppressive.
And violent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, that's where we are when it comes to Partition. It's a very big thing that the show is tackling, and like you said, it's tackling it very gently and beautifully.
Yeah, and I think what I also like is that our memories, our generational memories, start at Partition. I have actually had trouble imagining their lives before Partition, and this did that for me. It showed how people lived, and I love that he was a flower farmer. It was really nicely done. Just wonderfully done. Impressed. Very good.
So Najma comes, and she ends up shanking Aisha. That's so sad.
Yeah.
That they were friends and family.
Yeah.
And they were also turned on each other. It seems like Aisha's desire to save her daughter Sana is what brings Kamala back from the present time.
Yeah. And I think that when she said, "Oh, you're here," that means Sana made it on the train. That she had already planned that if something happens, I will summon back the bearer of the bangle, which she was hoping was Sana. So yeah, and that really fell in place for me. That she summoned her back. It wasn't the stab. It wasn't an incursion. It was her having planned that she was gonna do this in case of emergency.
Right. And once again, we hear that phrase, that she has all that she needs.
Yeah.
And it was also curious too, because at one point in that period of time, there were two bangles. The one Sana was holding, the toddler Sana is holding, and then the one Kamala has. So at that point in time, there were two. I like how the stars, how she uses the light to guide her, and then Sana also uses that light as Kamala gets knocked down to create the stars that she follows to find her dad.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. I love the Noor. The Noor reminds me of the Force. And that these people have the ability to use it for good.
Yeah. This, I don't want to call it a trope, but this tool of time travel where she goes back to save, not herself, but I guess it's part of her destiny because she wouldn't exist if she hadn't done this. Very similar to, you said, Harry Potter, where he saves himself?
He saves himself. Yeah. And similarly to this, he thinks that an ancestor or his father had saved him, right? And here people think that Aisha saved Sana, but it is basically them saving themselves. I know it's tropey, but I really like it.
It wasn't as tacky as I thought it maybe could have been early on as we were watching.
Yeah. No, I didn't think that this part was tacky at all.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was beautifully done. I love the idea of like, we are the ones we are waiting for. Yeah, I love the idea of we are the ones that we're waiting for. And I think that this was done very nicely. It wasn't tacky. I actually loved, I had said this to you earlier, I love how Kamala saved both the kids she saved. The shoe thief on the tower.
Are we recording?
Yeah, we're recording.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The shoe thief on the tower in New Jersey, and then Sana. And both times she was really good at de-escalating and kind of, you know, helping them, helping the kid be a kid. And you know what I mean? I really like that. Particularly as an educator, I think that really fascinated me. That she's not only a superhero that does this light thing, but she's also just, she's a teenager, a kind person, a smart person.
Mm-hmm.
So I really liked that about her. This scene was really awesome. I think it was great the way that everything was done. Yeah.
So when we come back to the present, it looks like everyone has been knocked out, but the veil has been opened and people are coming to. Faria is the first one to try to go through.
Yeah.
And she turns to stone and then falls apart. Reminded anyone who's watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. of the Terrigenesis process for a person who isn't inhuman.
Yeah. My question is, if it were anything like that, why did they just disintegrate and die? Right? Because they are... Well, maybe because they're not inhuman. Mm-hmm. Because they're clandestine. And... Yeah, but it did remind me of Terrigenesis. I'm telling you, this has something to do with Terrigen. I think that this has something to do with Kree. I mean, I've felt this, that Kamala didn't go through Terrigenesis, but I think what happened with her was a form of Terrigenesis.
Sure.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, so that Terrigenesis cocoon happens, and then Faria dies. Mm-hmm. What did you think about Najma's redemptive end?
Redemptive? I guess it was redemptive.
Yeah.
I think... Gosh, she did so much harm to get to the point where she was at. She shanked Aisha. Some of their family members died in New Jersey, right? She abandoned her son. Yeah, like...
she did so much harm.
Yeah, to get to this point. Mm-hmm. She sees what happens to Faria, and I think she does realize that Aisha was right, saying that it wouldn't be possible. And then, who knows the magic of how this is supposed to work, or how they, you know, make the storytelling of it happen, that she's able to wish upon Kamran these powers, and somehow that happens.
Yeah.
And she sacrifices herself, and the veil closes.
Yeah,
There's no explanation, and I don't even think they will explain this.
No, there's no explanation, and the redemption did not feel cathartic to me in the way that I had hoped something like this would, in the way that Darth Vader's redemption felt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It didn't feel that. It felt really rushed. I didn't understand the first time I was watching what was happening, that, you know, Kamala was right, and I loved the way that she said it, like, don't do this again. But I didn't quite like that moment, and I didn't understand how she is closing the veil, you know, and why Faria didn't and how she did. Mm-hmm. And like this whole thing with Kamran, and just made me really, really sad. The Kamran thing has made me very sad because, you know, she did abandon him and leave him there like an orphan. He says, my mom wouldn't do that. She wouldn't just leave me here like an orphan. So That's just really sad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of this part. The veil opening, and I think just the CGI too can be a little tacky. I love the lights.
Yeah.
The lights effect is nice, but Kamala's thing, that can be a little tacky when she does too much of it.
Sure.
Yeah, with both the rickshaw scene and this scene where they're saving people,
Right.
I'm just like, doesn't feel good. But again, little gripe. I'm not gonna. I have a negativity bias when I watch things. I'm not gonna harp on that too much.
So yeah, Najma leaves us, and now there's no more clandestines left. Just their progeny.
Mm-hmm, the descendants.
Right.
Mm.
So her mom, Muniba, and Sana come after using Find My Phone.
I like that scene, actually. Can we talk about that scene really quick where she says, "Where's Kamala?" She's not picking up her phone, and Nani's like, that Magnum got lost one time? And I just like that so much. One, because of Salima Ahmed's performance and the how casual Nani is about everything.
Mm-hmm.
And she knows that everything's gonna be okay. She really trusts.
Mm-hmm.
And two, because I can imagine Baba doing something like that and like equating it to like not a big deal. Also because I think the way that we think about our children's safety is very different in the way that people in Pakistan may think about their children's safety, particularly in our parents' generation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, car seats.
Who doesn't want to microchip their kid?
Huh? Who
doesn't want to microchip their kid?
Right. I think our parents didn't really care too. They knew we'd be fine because.
I liked when they enter that place wherever Kamala is, and the veil has gone away. And I think my favorite line or interaction is when they come and Chemo says, "Assalamu alaikum, Auntie."
Yeah.
And just her mom's demeanor.
Yeah.
She doesn't even say hi. She's like, mm-hmm.
And as opposed to Nani, who's like, "Welcome, Salam, beta." Just love. These are the moments that feel so good as representative of our experience because they're so real.
Yeah, it's great acting.
Yeah.
Yeah, by both of them.
Yeah, and I think it's great writing too, because it's such a simple interaction, but yeah. Yeah,
and I love seeing that her mom identifies her as, what does she call, a light girl?
Yeah, you're the light girl.
Yeah. I was hoping she might say nightlight, but
yeah.
Nightlight's not gonna stick, I guess.
Yeah.
So she goes and says goodbye to Chemo. Chemo gives her the red scarf, and which is also going to be part of her outfit. Same with her mom finding her broken, was it necklace?
Mm-hmm.
And it's broken to look like a lightning bolt.
Yeah, and it's the calf of her name, Kamala.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The goodbye was kind of tacky. I don't believe that he has warrants out for his arrest in the United States, but
maybe the DODC are coming for him. I mean,
yeah,
I wouldn't put that past.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna get any resolution on how the Red Dagger started, where they're going. I think we're gonna be done with Pakistan going into the next episode, but
yes.
We'll see.
Yes,
we'll see. The show does end up taking us back to New Jersey, where Kamran is wandering around, hooks up with Bruno / Brian, and this is like a really awkward and sweet moment.
I know, it's very.
We really
sweet.
see how lonely and isolated he is now.
Yeah,
and I think he genuinely thought the dude's name was Brian.
Yeah, I really like Rishaw's acting here because he kept that mystery and really came out as the awkward 16-year-old or 17-year-old at the end, and I like that.
I haven't liked his acting, except for that one time when they were at the sweet shop or cafe or whatever, And he changed his accent from British to Pakistani.
Yeah. Well, the why I'm saying I like his acting is because he had this mystery to him, and then now he comes out as this awkward kid who's kind of isolated, who needs a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like that he could do that transition, and I like that transition. I like the way that they interact in the end, outside Circle Q.
Right. We see his awkward social skills when he tries to shake Bruno's hand and Bruno's
arm is broken. Yeah.
That scene at the very end with the drone blowing up the Circle Q. I was wondering, like, because that scene was in the trailers of the Circle Q blowing up, so I was always curious, like, of that happening. And here we are, and that's how we end.
Yeah. A little heavy-handed on the part of the DODC, don't you think?
To just shoot up the place with kids?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Agent Deaver gives no Fs.
Okay. Yeah, but, that's not cool. They're going after kids. And I think that, anyway.
So this was our penultimate episode. For some reason, I liked episode 4 a little more than this, but we're still going strong. It's still highly reviewed. It's doing great on Rotten Tomatoes.
I think it has 100% Rotten Tomatoes, actually.
Yeah, viewership is down, which, I mean, I feel kind of sad for people who normally watch Marvel stuff but aren't watching this show.
Why do you think that is?
You know why I think it is.
But other people don't know.
I mean, I think it has to do with, people's implicit biases.
Okay.
And, seeing... I mean, those same people are about to go watch Thor. To see some arrogant white dude, a whole movie about him.
Yeah.
But they're going to miss out on Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
But that's their loss. The show has been great.
I think so.
Marvel, Disney, all of them have done a really good job with it.
I think so.
Going into our final episode, expectations, questions. What do you think is going to happen? Who do you think's going to show up? Who do you think isn't going to show up? Also, what will be wrapped up, like, as far as like loose threads?
I really want to see Kamran's arc get completed without him dying. Please. I would be devastated if that kid dies. He has gone through so much already. Right? And he just got his powers. If he dies, that would be really sad. But I have not known Marvel to do that. Marvel brings people back from the dead. Like, they're not gonna just kill him.
But what happens to him? There's no Miss and Mr. Marvel. There's just Miss Marvel.
He could be something else. I mean, he was Inhuman in the comics.
Back for season 2?
Maybe back for season 2. Maybe a team up. Maybe his own thing. But I would like to see it wrapped up in a nice way. So that's one thing I hope to see.
I think he dies.
I mean, that would make sense. But it would make me really sad. Yeah, Marvel's doing this sad-making stuff. With Spider-Man 2, I left with a heavy heart. I was like, oh, why did I watch this movie?
Is Captain Marvel going to show up next week?
I don't know, actually. I think to set up the Marvels, it would make sense. But I'm not holding out for it. I think it's okay. We have been waiting for.
Any lead up to She-Hulk?
Maybe a post-credit scene there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I want to just see how things are resolved with Nakia too, because I think that's a big part of this.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, that needs to be resolved.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think Bruno's just gonna go off to college. Something's gonna happen with Kamran, Nakia, and Kamala. I don't know, talk it out, whatever. And and just for her to come back and be integrated into this new way of looking at herself. And I think that will make it complete for me.
We see her wearing the blue vest that Waleed had given her.
Mm-hmm.
And she's collecting these other pieces of her outfit.
Mm-hmm.
But still, what she's collecting is different than these other clips. Last week we talked about some video that was leaked from a cruise ship about and what she looks like with her full outfit that's completed. So this stuff doesn't look like that. It looks like it's headed in that direction, but I think we need to see, I guess, her whole outfit get completed.
Yeah, I think Bruno will be instrumental in that.
Because he was in the comics, right? He's the one who created
her
fabric.
Yeah.
That embiggened with her.
Yeah. So I think that that would be part of her whole identity integration getting completed. Would be her outfit. And I'm curious to see what they do with all the pieces.
Are we going to find the second bangle? Not this season.
Not this season, and these are some things that I feel, could be put in a post-credit scene. Maybe it'll be about the second bangle. Maybe it'll be about, what's coming for her in the Marvels. Maybe it will be positioning her for another challenge, for her first big challenge, or maybe a collaboration. So I don't know. I'm curious. But I just want the loose ends to be tied. The one loose end that you said they're not going to tie, in your opinion, which I think I agree with, is the red daggers. I would actually really like to see Aramis Knight again in the same character. I think he did a wonderful job. And I just like that character from the comics too. And their interactions and how things go for them. So maybe they will set that up as well.
Yeah.
Hopes and dreams.
The DODC, I'm sure, is going to be back next week.
Oh yeah.
And someone who's used to arguing with them is Matt Murdock.
Oh.
Our good friend from across the river.
Oh yeah. We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'd love to see any of the Netflix Marvel folks come.
Yeah.
Show up except for the Iron Fist guy.
Whose meditation did nothing for him ever.
But yeah, that's where we are. Wrapping up episode 5. We really look forward to episode 6. That's going to be great. We may be doing that video from separate locations. We got to figure out how to do that technologically.
And we will.
Yes. Tell us what you think of the episode. Follow us on Twitter at Omar's Rickshaw. Hit us up in the comments. Tell us what you thought about our takes. Tell us about Partition. Hit us up. Reach out to us in our DMs. We'd love to hear from people what you think of us and what we should do once the show's over.
Yeah, I think I was going to say that. Thank you for saying that. That we would like to hear from people what you think we should do or where we should go, what you would like to hear once this is over.
Great. Take care of yourselves. Have a great weekend. Enjoy watching Thor. Enjoy final episode of The Boys. I watched it last night. It's pretty cool. See y'all next time. Take care, y'all.
Bye-bye.